Dude, this Rostermania just ain't slowing down. Just when you think there's gonna be a break, a moment of peace, suddenly you're getting hit with moves from all sides. Norbert is heading to the bench in Virtus Pro, NertZ is heading to Team Liquid, and then while I was making this video on just those two moves, Flammus gets tapped to go to Virtus Pro? It is absolute chaos in the world of Counter-Strike news. Rostermania is delivering in ways no one expected. So today, let's talk about what's happening with Team Liquid, what's happening with Virtus Pro, and why this sucks for Gamer Legion most of all. And if you guys are enjoying this Rostermania coverage, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. And before we get started, I would like to thank today's sponsor. That's right, this video is sponsored by SkinClub. They are one of the most popular case opening sites in Counter-Strike with over 100 custom cases backed by its provably fair system, meaning that as long as you are not me, you have a fair shot at unboxing something awesome.
Nice.
But it's not just regular unboxings. You can compete in case opening battles with other users, the boys in between that next Us 2 match, or privately with bots where you can either team up 2v2 to split the winnings, or try your luck to win the entire pot if you hit the best item. Or, if risk scares you, and it does for me, you can toggle sharing mode to split the winnings evenly amongst the group. But that's not all. SkinClub runs monthly events for you to win unique prizes, free daily cases for a little extra cheddar on top, and if you don't like the skins you hit, you can always try a little cheeky upgrade to find something you do like. If you want to play on SkinClub, you can click the top link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus and top off your account with credit card, crypto, or even deposit skins directly from your inventory. Lastly, please don't gamble if you are under 18, live in a country or jurisdiction that restricts gambling, and most importantly, don't gamble to make money. Play for fun with money you are okay to lose. Gambling addiction is very real, and if you or a loved one are having problems in the US or Canada, you can reach out to this hotline, 1-800-GAMBLER, toll-free to get help. Addiction is an illness, and I want you to be healthy and safe. Thank you to SkinClub for sponsoring this video, and with that, let's get back to it. Okay, so if you caught yesterday's upload linked in the top right corner right now, we talked about Yekindar heading to the bench for Team Liquid. This was the most obvious move Liquid were going to make during the offseason. Yekindar was the worst piece of this team, and looking for somebody to replace them made the most sense. I just think we were all in agreement that we weren't going to hear anything about a replacement this goddamn soon, and in this big of a way. I was not convinced that Liquid were going to be this big of a buyer in the offseason. Please make no mistake, NertZ is a borderline superstar. He is one of the best riflers in the world, and he was the linchpin behind Heroic's great run at the Shanghai Major. So this move is a massive deal. For one, it signals a massive change coming for Heroic, something we'll have to talk about later, but for two, this is a massive increase in firepower for Team Liquid. It was announced today over on Twitter by Alejandro Gomez of Sheep Esports that Liquid had reached an agreement with the 25-year-old rifler. Now the details of this move are not yet public, nor has there been a confirmation by either NertZ himself or Team Liquid, but with how much noise this is generating, I'm fairly confident that this move is in fact real. So with that, what does this do for Team Liquid? Well, like I said, this is a massive increase in firepower. If we just take a look at NertZ's stats for this year, he is ending the entire year with a 1.14 rating. Over his last 3 months, he upped to a 1.22 in the run-up to the Major, while he was the most consistent piece for a very fun Heroic lineup. So there's no doubt that Team Liquid are going to get much stronger with NertZ on this lineup. The big issue is going to be role replacement. While NertZ is certainly an aggressive player in his own way, he's not going to directly replace the entry that Yekindar was providing. Someone else on the team is going to have to fit that role. Now, the role situation is actually pretty straightforward on the CT side, as Yekindar and NertZ actually do play a lot of the similar spots on the maps. If you go over to Nero's role position database, Nero is also, by the way, the go-to person for advanced stats in the Counter-Strike scene. You should follow him on Twitter, his work is amazing. But if we go over to his positional database, look by the CT position, sort for NertZ and Yekindar, you can see that for the most part, a lot of role overlap. They're going to be able to slot in pretty much one for one outside of some cases like CT Ancient. But if we do the same search over to the T side, you can see that they don't play the same positions whatsoever. And this is because NertZ does tend to play more of a lurky rotator role on the T side, though he will entry occasionally depending on what heroic sets are. But overall, he actually has a lot more of a role overlap with Nafly than he does Yekindar, and that's going to cause some issues. To be honest, I'd rather have Naf and NertZ work it out than try to shift either of them to be more dedicated entries, and I'm going to suggest something that I think some people aren't going to like. I think the next thing Liquid should be looking to do is replacing JKS with a proper entry role. Now, this is not as straightforward as just find a nice young aggressive player to take over JKS in the roster, because you have to consider the VRS rules and the fact that Liquid really want to be a North American team for the sake of qualifying to the major. It's just easier to qualify through the Americas region, it's less congested, so they can continue taking advantage of that they want to, and dropping JKS and picking up another European player would make that impossible. So we need a young, aggressive, preferably from the Americas region player to take his spot. It's Lake. I'm just gonna drop the pretext here and not like ramble around the point. It's Lake. You go to M80, you pay for Lake. He's a young up-and-coming player, very aggressive. You slot him in as your dynamic entry player on T-sides. You give him time to develop with great veteran players around him. You get Lake. Now, of course, in my fantasy dreams, they would get Elige, but I'm going to assume that Elige is going to be going elsewhere to a bigger team with more championship aspirations. If Elige is not available, doesn't want to come back to Liquid, then Lake makes the most sense. After Lake, I guess you could look at someone like HeXT from NRG potentially, but after that, the list definitely gets pretty thin. The big miss for Liquid this year is always going to be the fact that they were in talks to get Malbs, but then G2 took him away. Malbs would be the perfect fit on this roster still, and I really wish Liquid had managed to get him, would have been great, but such is life in Counter-Strike. Overall, to summarize my thoughts on this move, I think NertZ to Liquid is a very positive change. He's going to bring a lot of dynamic fragging to the organization, and frankly, I am shocked to see Team Liquid be so proactive in this offseason. I still would prefer them to get a new in-game leader, but just because of how the roles are shaking out with this team, it's pretty clear to me that Twist is going to continue to run the ship, and if that's the case, replacing JKS with an entry seems like the most logical next step for Liquid to be a pretty damn good team going into 2025. Hey, excuse me, sorry for interrupting my own commentary here. It's editor LionHeartZ coming in with another point that I forgot during the recording. Obviously, another option for Team Liquid would be to pick up Stanislaw as both someone who keeps them in the Americas region and also would be an amazing IGL. And I forgot to mention this in yesterday's video, someone brought up in the comments, definitely Stanislaw is someone to be considered. My only concern with Stanislaw coming into the team now, for someone like say JKS for example, would be again the lack of a true entry player that would still need to be filled in some way by the remaining players, and the rest of them don't tend to play those roles on the T side. So best case in that respect would be Stanislaw playing a Kerrigan-esque role of being the sacrificial piece to open up T side sets, which I'm certain he could do well, but at the same time I would much rather have a dedicated aggressive rifler on this team. So Stanislaw to Liquid, still very much high on the list. I forgot it yesterday, so I'm putting it in here. Thank you to the comment who brought that up. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The biggest question left over to me here is what's next for Heroic. This was very much a team that seemed to consistently be getting better. It finally looked like the Dexter piece was going to work out in a big way, and with this showing at the major, they were going to be emboldened to be a true top 10 threat going into next year, and now that they've lost their best player, I have no idea what's next for Heroic. Will other pieces of this team be sniped to other organizations as so often happens, or will Kicksand, Tessas, and the boys be allowed to find a new star player to go into next year alongside with? Who knows, but as soon as we know more, I will be able to tell it to you guys. Let's go ahead and talk about the other major news of the day, and that's that Virtus.pro have made yet another titanic move. Norbert has been sent to the bench, and while I was making this video, it was announced a few hours later that they are targeting Flammus as his replacement. Now, let's take it one step at a time. Of course, let's start with Norbert heading to the bench, and the first thing I have to say is that Floppy's quote from EPL about, hey, when teams are struggling, just cut the support player, remains eternally true. Virtus.pro have a lot of problems, but Norbert seemed very low on the list of priority issues that they were facing. Obviously, the first major move was James being benched not long after their disappointment at the recent major. That one made a lot of sense, but I really didn't think Norbert would be the next one to be cut. It seems like already that we are seeing the electronic cult of personality in full force, because at this point, Virtus.pro can't realistically make another move out of Flit, Fame, or Electronic without cutting all of their Valve standing points and having to start over from scratch in the new year, which no major organization wants to do. So we know that there will not be another cut. There will only be things added to the roster, and at this point, there is no confirmed in-game leader, there is no confirmed opper. So I would assume that we are going down the darkest timeline of Electronic as the in-game leader in 2025, and they're going to look for a young Russian opper to replace James. So with all that being said, here's my live uncut reaction to my first look at the tweet saying that Virtus.pro might be picking up Flammus. Now, this move would absolutely fucking suck for Wolfmus, because I can't see any future where VersePro is anything close to a functional lineup going into next year, let alone anything close to as good of a prospect as what Gamer Legion are currently building. Gamer Legion were one of the surprise teams of the recent major cycle. Ash looks like one of the best coaches in the world, and ZTR looks like a next up-and-coming in-game leader. What they were building there looked legitimately excellent, and I am shocked to see Wolfmus stepping away this soon into the project. I can only assume that Wolfmus is going to VersePro because 1, they are a very well-venerated Russian organization, and 2, they threw a giant bag of money at him. But unless VersePro do the impossible and put a spell on Muddacy to sign him as their new opper, there is no way that VersePro are going to be the better perspective team than Gamer Legion could be. Electronic is going to be a dog shit IGL. And considering they're probably not going to get Muddacy, there's no way they're getting Shiro, they're not going to use Jame obviously, they're going to have to go with some unknown new perspective Russian opper in his place or go somewhere international. The point is, they're not going to get somebody who's going to fit what Jame could offer as a pure star opper to begin with. Before the news about Wolfmus broke, this was going to be just a video about VersePro and how I thought this was the beginning of the end. It looks to me like VersePro were going to blow things up entirely, and we might be seeing an entirely new roster at some point in the near future. There's just no way that sticking with Electronic and letting him run the show is going to work out in the long run. And now it seems VersePro have doubled down, and no, we're going to be sticking with Electronic for the immediate future, and we're going to let him grip the reins of power once again, and that makes me incredibly sad. Because again, think about the roster construction, right? There is no more support player. We've cut Norbert. So someone out of Flit, Fame, or Wolfmus, God forbid, is going to have to play the support roles. Because we know Electronic's not going to do it. That man's ego is bigger than his aim in the game. It just has disaster written all over it. And once again, I must lament the fact that if you're not a tier 1 organization, if you are struggling to make the money of the big guys, you are never allowed to let a roster cook as soon as they break out. It's happening to everyone. Gamer Legion are going to get picked apart. I'm sure somebody's going to target Wildcard and try and get Stanislaw away from them. Heroic and Maus are both definitive top 10 teams to end this year, and they're going to get pieced apart. It fucking sucks. VersePro have been swirling the drain for years with dog shit lineup after dog shit lineup since the Golden Core originally fell apart. And this is just another one in a long line of disappointments. Much like Fnatic, it's no longer 2015, VersePro is no longer a major force in the scene, and now they're set to ruin more rosters going into 2025. Let me know what you guys think about NertZ to Liquid and Wolfmus potentially the VersePro over Norbert in the comments down below. I'll be down there responding as always. Once again, thank you to SkinClub for sponsoring this video. If you want a 7% deposit bonus, click the top link in the description down below and let SkinClub know I sent you their way. Thank you to SkinClub. Shout out to my channel members: Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, and our newest channel member, Patates Köftesi. My sincerest apologies if I am pronouncing that wrong. Please correct me in the comments. If you want to support me directly, you can do so at the link in the description. It's $5 a month. You get an exclusive role in our community Discord, also linked in the description, and you get your name shouted out at the end of the videos. Thank you to our channel members. Follow me on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ CS2. All that good stuff. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. See you next video.